Don't miss out on important news. Our videos are being deleted. So if you don't want to be cut off from honest news, take a moment to sign up for our newsletter at newsletter.ntd.com so you don't lose access to NTD. Go to newsletter.ntd.com to sign up for our evening newsletter.
NTD's Kay Rubacek has been down at the U.S.-Mexico border this week. Accompanying her is a Mexican cartel expert. Down at the banks of the Rio Grande in the middle of the night, they see smugglers transporting raft load after raft load of illegal immigrants, over 100 in just a few hours. But what else are the cartels up to while the Border Patrol is occupied? Find out in this NTD exclusive report.
I'm at the Roma port of entry in the southern border of Texas. Above me is the legal port of entry via this bridge. But behind me is the Rio Grande River, which is being used on a daily and nightly basis by the Mexican cartels to bring people across the river illegally into the US. Soon after we arrived, a thunderstorm approached. Hail and rain were also on their way.
Even as we've got this bad weather coming, it never shuts down here. This is ground zero for transnational crime.
Jason Jones, an expert on Mexican cartels and retired captain from the Texas Department of Public Safety, is accompanying us along the river. Just moments ago, we saw a raft not far away crossing the river, and National Guards responded immediately. To our surprise, Jones says even the brunt of this storm won't deter the cartels from crossing the Rio Grande River. It will in fact do the opposite.
Drugs are backed up. They're already pushing them to the border, ready to surge as soon as this storm hits, because they know it's going to slow down law enforcement's response. So what they'll do is they'll surge in multiple places. At every bend in the river up here, they're going to move narcotics, they're going to move people, and they're going to cause a massive movement at one time in multiple locations. So while law enforcement may knock down one drug load, let's say, or one group of people, they'll miss the others.
Last night, we were down on the river's edge. Here you can see a smuggler rowing raft after raft of women and children. Several heavily pregnant women were on board, and all adults had at least one child with them. One woman carried a baby only 40 days old. Over the course of just a few hours, we saw over 100 immigrants being transported across the river and then escorted to a temporary immigration processing station manned by Border Patrol agents. Jones sees groups like this coming across all the time, but his main concern is not immigration. It is what's entering the country while Border Patrol agents are occupied. He knows the cartel's tactics all too well.
It's tying up National Guard units along with Border Patrol because they're responding to this guy right now and to this raft that just crossed. But at the same time, here come the drugs upriver and downriver. Immigration is one part of this, but we've got to address the overdose deaths and the violence that's being caused as a direct result of our immigration laws. We can't have the amount of drugs flowing into our country that are killing our citizens, like fentanyl and methamphetamine. And the fix to that is really looking to Mexico's issues with the cartels and how powerful they are, but also what they've evolved into. We've never seen this before.
The battles between the Mexican cartels just across the river in Mexico are seen and heard by local residents and authorities. Jones says this stretch of the border we're on right now is prime real estate for the cartels because there's no border wall. On the Mexican side of the river, battles often break out between rival cartels for control over the territory. Back in December 2020 and in March this year, Jones caught two shootouts on camera. In this footage, you can hear the battle taking place only just across the river.
The thing about these gun battles that I think would really surprise most Americans is that this involves 50 caliber belt-fed machine guns at your border. This involves trade craft that the cartels have honed, working with paramilitary groups, former military special forces. You've got 40-millimeter grenades going off down here. It is back-to-back violence, and that crosses into the country.
There is literally a massive storm heading down towards us right now, and as we speak, the Mexican cartels are still moving rafts across the river, bringing either drugs or people over into the US. And experts on the ground say this is not looking to end anytime soon.
Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis will pardon anyone who is charged for violating mask mandates or virus rules. He told Fox's Laura Ingraham the penalties are a total overreach. He says these measures should be advisory, not punitive. And more than 40 conservative organizations promised not to accept donations from big tech companies as long as they continue to silence conservative speech. NTD's Lynn brings us more.
More than 40 organizations signed a pledge to reject money from big tech organizations such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, and Apple. The Heritage Foundation also signed the pledge.
One thing that we wanted, these tech companies to know is that we're going to give unvarnished, thoughts and attention to what they're doing to conservatives and others and their censorship platforms right now.
The D.C.-based think tank last year also publicly rejected six-figure donations from Facebook and Google. Research fellow Destin Carmack says conservatives are not the lone victims of big tech censorship. He says it's really about free speech.
And yet these platforms are making unilateral decisions that, either link and say only one source of information has somehow become the scientific gold standard and the only standard, and nothing can be questioned.
Last year, big tech companies spent millions of dollars lobbying Congress on issues ranging from the election to immigration. Facebook spent more than any other big tech company at nearly $20 million, an increase of nearly 18% from the year before. Lynn, NTD News.
A U.S. Senate committee passed a bipartisan bill Tuesday. It would inject billions of dollars into countering competition from the Chinese communist regime.
After debating for nearly 6 hours, the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science and Transportation voted 24-4 to pass the Endless Frontier Act. It authorizes more than $110 billion over 5 years to invest in research, education, communications, and key technology areas. This bill is sponsored by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and co-sponsored by Republican Senator Todd Young.
I'm especially proud of my own team, who spent countless hours developing a strong pro-innovation, anti-China Communist Party piece of legislation that will help the United States win the 21st century.
The Senate committee also adopted Senator Ted Cruz's amendment to this bill. It would prevent the Chinese Communist Party from exploiting loopholes. Cruz said CCP-linked outlets are openly trying to purchase radio stations inside the U.S. and across our borders, with the aim of controlling what Americans see, hear, and ultimately think. But some House conservatives criticize that this bill doesn't do enough to protect American interests from CCP threats. They say the bill should take tougher actions against China for stealing America's intellectual property. Senator Schumer says he expects this bill would move to full Senate vote before the end of May.
Two twin brothers tell us their experience of studying at university during lockdowns last year. The pandemic threw some challenges at them, but they say practicing their spiritual faith, Falun Dafa, gave them the strength and wisdom to get through it. NTD's Dawn Tran has the story.
In upstate New York, brothers Mackay and Rumi Albert attended college and lived relatively normal lives. But things took a much different turn when the pandemic hit. The twins suddenly found themselves under lockdown, stuck indoors, unable to go outside.
It wasn't just one country or one specific area that was affected, but this was the entire world. So I think under the circumstance of this pandemic, it was really a worldwide event, and all of us felt it. Though I, like many people, developed many unhealthy habits in the pandemic period. I sort of spent excessive amounts of time on the internet, on my phone, on my computer. And I became pessimistic about life and my studies.
Rumi says if it weren't for the practice of Falun Dafa, he could have taken a fall in his life. Mackay says Falun Dafa, a meditation practice grounded by the principles of truth, compassion, and forbearance, helped him maintain a rational, calm mind.
If you just think about it, like being inside all day, you need some forbearance to do that, and you also need some compassion for the other people that are going through the same thing. So I think there was nothing more beneficial for me than having Falun Dafa at the time to help with my well-being, as far as mentally, but also physically. I think all of these together helped me really deal with the stress.
The brothers also benefited from the practice's 5 sets of exercises. They say it not only relieved them of stress, but also helped them to keep making good life choices.
And by doing so, you sort of realize and come to an understanding that your day should be based on self-improvement And you need to have some goals, some responsibilities that you will overcome throughout the day, maybe throughout the week and throughout the month. But if you begin your day with a distraction, maybe you like to go on Facebook, you like to go on YouTube, it's very easy to be swallowed up, and then you sort of realize at the end of the day, like, what have I been doing the whole day? And this is really where Falun Dafa comes into my life and really plays a very positive role.
The Albert brothers say that if they had the chance, they'd encourage everyone to practice Falun Dafa.
I would like to tell all of the world's people that Falun Dafa is truly good. I really, really encourage everyone to try it. It's free, it's easily found on the web. We all have extra time nowadays, so I know for myself, I found many benefits through practice, as have millions of people around the world in many, many countries. This practice is very, very powerful in its grounding principles. You know, it not only helps the body maintain a right and a healthy state, but it also helps the mind by staying aligned to universal principles, to having a bigger purpose, and really coming to know why you are here.
Mackay and Rumi say they'll keep on with their university studies in biomedical and data science respectively. And they'll keep meditating. They say no matter what challenges arise, they believe practicing Falun Dafa will keep their futures bright. Don Schran, NTD News.